We have our cars named after the symbol of freedom, the Mustang, and there are statues everywhere of horses as a tribute to what they've done for us. Yet why do we treat the real thing with so much blatant cruelty and disrespect? This conference is about horse welfare. But it's not just about horse welfare. It's also about the future of our public wildernesses, our public lands. It is also about the welfare of certain communities that are being targeted to open horse slaughter plants in. It's also about the welfare of our taxpayer dollars that would be used to pay for USDA inspections for horse meat for human consumption. And it is even about the welfare of the end consumer, who unknowingly is consuming meat from an animal that was never intended or bred for slaughter, and therefore given many medications, which make the horse meat toxic, carcinogenic, and very unhealthy to eat. In 2007, the last of the American horse slaughter plants closed after Congress included language in an appropriations bill which defunded the USDA inspections on horse meat. Unfortunately, this last November, a new appropriations bill was signed by the President which did not include this language to keep horse slaughter illegal in this country. We now have several slaughter operations applying for licenses to open horse slaughter plants once again. The business of horse slaughter is not a service business designed to help us get rid of old and skinny horses. It is a for-profit, demand-driven business like any other business. As recorded by the USDA, 92% of all horses slaughtered are healthy animals in the prime of their life. The amount of horses slaughtered is determined by the demand of horse meat abroad and by the contracts that the kill buyers have to fulfill, not by any amount of unwanted horses. They pretend to actually care about horse welfare. They pretend to care about the welfare of the horse industry. But let there be no mistake about it. They only care about the welfare of the horse meat industry. Abandoned and starving horses are not the ones that end up in the slaughter plants for the simple fact that their owners chose to abandon them or neglect them or starve them rather than send them to slaughter. Court records of neglect cases show that the very small demographic of people who hang on to their horses despite their ability to take care of them are people who do not want to see their horses left in slaughter. Therefore, horse slaughter will never be an option nor a solution for abuse and neglect. We need to pass the American Horse Slaughter Prevention Act. Our other subject that we're all very outraged about is our public lands. Our public lands are just that, public. They're not called special interest lands, or lands for sale to the highest bidder, or lands for profit. Although, by the way, the BLM and the Forest Service are managing them, that's what they should be called. Just like the rainforests of the world are being exploited, so are our own American public lands. And they're being pillaged for their resources. Their resources being grazing rights, water rights, mining rights, and easements for pipelines. The BLM claims that we still have approximately 38,000 wild horses out there on the range. Wild horse advocacy organizations disagree and estimate that it is far less than 20,000. But let's say that we're going to compromise and take the middle range of that. So let's say there's 27,000 out there. That is still a ridiculously low number of wild horses and burros left in the wild. We have over 32 million deer in America. We have over 1 million elk. How come we see nobody concerned with rounding them up in helicopters and stuffing them in holding pens? And that's where I'm going to end and let RT explain exactly why.
Okay, that's quite a challenge. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Right before our eyes, the Bureau of Land Management is stripping away every last wild equine from their rightful homes and they are artificially creating a fiscal emergency where they have overloaded their short and long-term holding to the point that I will all but guarantee you that soon they will deem all of these horses to be sale authority and could be sold off to slaughter. They tried it in 2008, the plan's there, and we'll try it again. How they're getting the horses off the land is they're fudging statistics using bogus numbers, which we have proved, and we have people in this audience who work very hard to try to get the right facts. They use slanted propaganda about reproduction, and I just want to make it very clear that we as wild horse advocates are not anti-managing. We are pro-science with a dash of compassion thrown in. Now, if this plan of the BLM does not work, and they are stopped either via lawsuits or public outrage, they have a new plan that they use, and that's called emergency roundups. We've seen that happen this very summer in regards to water. There may be places in the U.S. where there are serious droughts, but I'd like to bring to your attention the case of the Northwest Colorado West Douglas herd, where our advocates went into the field to verify there was adequate water for the horses, photographed them, documented it, right down to muddy horses. Yet the BLM still insisted that horses needed to be removed. This is the herd that we've been fighting for years, that the BLM wants to zero out, to make go away, to never be in existence again. But we did get a reprieve from Mother Nature, and into their bait trapping, the roundup was called off. How many here have been to long-term holding? We've got quite a few people here raising their hands. This is where these wild families, once free, end up. The stallions gelding, living by the hundreds in a herd all alone. Mares, again, separated, living in a herd all alone. This is not wild horses or burros. This is not what the American people want to see on our existing public lands, which are eco-sanctuaries, where we travel to watch the families of wild horses interact just as that, in freedom and as families. Take away the babies, take away the stallions, and what do you have? They're not domestic horses. This is where the horses are intended to end up. And again, I refer to the emergency that will be called up as an end game to send our wild horses to slaughter. Currently, the BLM is stacking the deck at the Wild Horse and Bureau Advisory Board with the appointment of an individual such as Callie Hendrickson, who's an outspoken horse slaughter proponent. She was appointed against all our outrage as a public advocate, and she does not represent this public in the United States, where 80% of our public is opposed to horse slaughter. Again, there's Don Glenn, who's the former manager of the BLM's Wild Horse and Bureau, Wild Horse and Burro division, who retired just last year, but in May spoke at a National Academy of Science meeting where he said it was insane to be paying tens of millions of dollars to warehouse old horses that nobody wants. And they should all be declared sale authority horses. If the advocates are worried about any of them going to slaughter, then they should all adopt sale authority horses. Our horses that have been up for adoption, wild horses or burros, 3 times, and they have not been adopted, they can then be sold for $25 to anybody who will take them. A couple other facts you should know. Reported.
I applied for the BLM advisory board position, by the way, just so you know, so we can have maybe a balance. I officially applied and have nominations.
Simone has done that, and she's got the support of many of us. Other facts you should know, and the reason that we are not in a good mood here this time, that the Federal Fish and Wildlife Plan, or agency, is planning to remove and then sell to slaughter over 1,000 wild horses who are currently living peacefully on 575,000 acres on the North Nevada Sheldon Wildlife Refuge. This was reported last night by our good friends at Channel 8. And the reason are the antelope. There's 2,500 antelope, wild antelope on the property. But they too will admit it. They're the healthiest that they've ever been, living right next door to those same wild horses. And also the cows, the private welfare cattle will continue to graze. And did you know if the BLM continues with the plans that by next year there will be no wild burros left at all in California? They will be gone. I have a lot of personal friends who actually camp in the desert so they can see those burros. The list is long and it's bloody, but what can you do? What can we do? Our recommendation is that you stand with us, that you fight with us for the end of these roundups. We recently proved that public advocacy works. Over the last several weeks, the public raised to the call and in a matter of just a few days generated over 15,000 letters to the President calling for a cessation of this madness. My wife Jerry Finch from Habitat for Horses and myself hand-delivered all those letters last Thursday to Congressman Jim Moran, who will be delivering them to the President. And I just heard from his office this morning that that planned meeting is, and delivery is for next week. We'll be giving you more details. While we were there last Thursday, advocates from around the world were calling the White House insisting the President read their letters and heed to their desires. We managed to jam those presidential lines on the 13th and it worked. It's time that our government listen to the wishes of the majority because we're long past due to put forward science in front of special interests. We can fix this on the front end and then turn and repair the damage that the BLM wild horse harvesting machine has done on the backside. And what can you do? You can call the governor of Nevada and ask him to personally intervene and weigh in on both the state and federal equine atrocities that are occurring in this state. We can call the White House, and we should continue to do this till Election Day. Call on their line and insist that the President puts an end to the unnecessary and costly roundups so that we can take a full accounting of what's left in the wild on the range, and so that an appropriate and planned management can be implemented even if it's even needed. And we can't escape politics, because if we're ever going to get an incumbent president to listen to us, it's one who needs votes. And as I said, we delivered over 16,000 letters. That is a huge block. That's a huge voting block. And you folks have such outreach and so many friends that we can make a difference between now and Election Day. Because if the President ever hears this message, and we are all asked, are things better for you in the last 4 years? I can tell you this honestly. Mr. President, sir, no. Things are not better for the horses of America over this past 4 years. Thank you very much, folks.
My name is John Holland. I'm the president of the Equine Welfare Alliance. We are an umbrella organization, 100% volunteer. We're 501c4. Everything that comes into us is used for the horses. Nothing ends up in anybody's pockets. And what I found about horse slaughter is that you can stand anywhere in the horse slaughter world. You can stand at an auction. You can stand at a port of entry in Mexico. You can stand at a slaughter plant. Or when they were in the U.S., stand to one of those, as I did. And you can look in any direction, and all you will find is evil and corruption and crime. You can look at the trucks coming into the slaughter plant, and you will find they don't have a proper DOT license, the driver's drunk, and he's driven far longer than he should have. And thanks to our investigators, we're nailing these people. Take Three Angels Farms. Our investigators found out that Three Angels Farms was running trucks that when they had lost their DOT license. Nobody was bothering to stop them. The man had gone, IEC had gone and gotten his brother to sign a license. He got another DOT license. They followed, found the trucks weren't authorized, weren't safe. Turned those over to Department of Transportation, and he was right back on the road under another farm name. And they identified that, turned him over to state police, turned him over. So we actually do a lot of the investigation work on that end, just to show you one of the things we do. And say, here's what happened in Cabell, when they were in operation. Here's what they did to the sewer system. Here are their sewer records. They choked the sewer system with the blood. We were able to look at the Dallas Crown records. records and say they didn't pay their fine and they almost bankrupted the town. And so we were able to shut them down almost every time. And we do that at each and every plant. And very often nobody even knows we were there. Nobody knows how they got the sewer records. Nobody knows why the government was educated. But we will do it whenever we know where they're going. And anyhow, so as I was saying about the whole procedure, if you go from the slaughter plant to the trucker, you go back to the auction. Look at the auction in Sugar Creek. The man has been fined $170,000, never paid a fine. Horses sitting in the pens with broken legs. So you look at Sugar Creek and you look at who's coming into Sugar Creek selling horses. You know, you got people that have mistreated their horses and abused their horses, and you find that the Sugar Creek and the other places, New Holland, for example, hand them a little slip of paper, and it's called an IED. Equine Information Document. And it has a picture of the horse. You're supposed to fill in the markings, the breed, the sex, how many drugs it's had, when it's had the drugs, and so forth, so you have a complete record. It's complete fabrication. They just say, here, sign this for us, we'll take care of the rest. The kill buyer on the truck fills in the drug history. Now here are a couple of items, for example. You'll find these in everybody's tax home, I think. Who on the horse people doesn't recognize these immediately? It's Bute, right? Phenylbutazone. It's the most common painkiller. It's very effective on horses. It's quite safe in reasonable doses. I have a little stallion who has hoof embolisms from time to time, little problems. Give this to him, give him some relief from the pain, and he'll get over it. He has always gotten over it in a couple of days, but this gives him some relief. If you ever give this drug to a horse, it's not to ever be sold for slaughter, according to the European Union. It's a deadly carcinogen to people, especially to children. So the meat goes over to Europe and gets made into baby food in Italy. Baby food, the worst possible thing you can do with a carcinogen. This causes aplastic anemia. Now, for those who argue against this, they say, it washes out very quickly. All you have to do is leave the horse for a little while. 90% of it washes out in one day, and 90% of that the next day. What they don't tell you is it metabolizes into oxyphenylbutazone, which has got the same carcinogenic characteristics. And they treat it. They want us to believe it's simply a toxin, and if you get a low enough dose of it, it's no problem. In fact, a carcinogen is like a key into a lock, and that's what most people don't understand. It only takes one molecule of this drug to kill you, theoretically. All it has to do is ensconce itself, they call it incalcating, into the DNA sequence of one of your cells. And it does so in such a way that that cell then replicates uncontrollably. And you've got a tumor, and you've got cancer. So that's basically just a few of the examples. You can go back before that and say, well, how did the horse get in that guy's position? You find horse theft. It's just a web of evil. There's nothing good about horse slaughter anywhere, and I'll challenge anybody to show me one positive thing about it.
So I'd like to thank the Equine Welfare Alliance for doing so much effort, doing so much money. And I'd like to add that I do know one thing that's good about horse slaughter, and that's the people that are trying to stop it.
Yeah.
Concludes our press conference for today. Thank you so much to Channel 8. We really appreciate you being